previously on
highlighted
Daddy to
that
Daughter.
this strong woman who did this great feat and did this great thing was a woman.
Mhm.
It wasn't a man. And I don't say that to highlight that a man didn't do it as much as I say it to highlight the strength of a Black woman,
Very much so. Very much.
the courage of Black women,
Mhm.
the leadership
Mhm.
of a Black woman, which circles back to what we were talking about in terms of the dynamic of Black homes, the dynamic of Black relationships, and why it's important to not try and model your relationship based off of a Eurocentric idea, because that idea, that model would have you to believe that women should be simply submissive, and you would miss out on the abundance that is the Black woman. You would miss out on the leadership that Black women can bring to the table. You would miss out on all the things that a Black woman is if you are relegating and simplifying her to this model that doesn't fit to begin with. Yeah.
Right. Okay. I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
I think one of the things we have to be very careful of, and I agree very much on everything you said. I totally agree. But history is narrated by our oppressors, so they don't give us all of it.
Let's continue the conversation. Where we left off was, Daddy, you were saying that history is narrated by
Right.
oppressors or by our oppressors.
Well, the reason I said that is because you brought up Harriet Tubman and everything you said about the great woman of God that God used to be a catalyst to free our people.
Yes.
That's wonderful. But always remember, history, American history, we'll use that term, because American history is based upon the ideology of white being supreme.
Yes.
So they've always minimized the courage, the strength, the grace, the power of Black women and Black men that have fought for the struggle of equality, in which we still fight for anyway, which we need to stop fighting for equality and just take our equal place. But anyway, uh, uh, when we talk about the strength of Black people, here's the thing that I realize: there is no culture or nation of people that exhibits the fruit of the spirit as a culture like we do.
Agreed.
I mean, you go to any country in the world, we're treated the same way we're treated here in America, to a lesser or greater degree.
Mm-hmm.
Our culture is demeaned, and our contribution is abated in many of the cultures around the world, but we graciously endure.
I was watching something else the other day, and I hope I don't sidetrack you with this, but
No,
it comes to mind. It comes to the top of my heart. There was a Caucasian boy just talking. I saw a Caucasian boy, I saw an Indian boy, and I think he may have been an Asian boy, young man. They were all males, and they
Right.
were all recanting stories from their family members. I think one of the guys was from his mom, one of the guys was from an uncle or a father, and one of the guys was his sister. And they told them, if ever you're in trouble and you need help, find a Black woman. Find a Black woman.
Find a Black woman, and she'll take you in. Yeah.
She'll help you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about it, you know, it further amplifies. Many of the Black women nurse fed white babies when they were kids. They, you know, that's what makes our struggle so ridiculous. And I say ridiculous because no community of individuals should have to have gone through what we've gone through.
Agreed.
But when I understand the text in light of eternity, I understand the repercussions of our disobedience.
Yes, sir.
Though it may seem arduous now, the price is far less than what it could have been. We could not exist at all as a species, but we're still here. And to have endured the things we've done in every parts of this world, and yet have not become violent, have not revolted, have not taken land from other people. We are the epitome of the patience of Christ as a culture. That don't mean all of us, but when you look at us overall, that's what we are, and that's what we represent. And I think that bears itself out even in the relationship. And to me, the Black woman is the frontline example of our struggle in
She's
many
a
ways.
frontline example, and you can disagree with me, but I believe that the Black woman is the front line of our struggle and also our triumph in a lot of
I
ways.
agree. I agree. I agree. Uh, we would be amiss though if we did not also recognize uh, the contribution of Black men.
Of
Also,
course.
you know, though I think that there have been times that we have been put in situations, and even now we're put in situations where we could probably use our wealth to be a little bit more sensitive to our community. Uh, there have been some great Black men. We were mentioning Harriet Tubman. I think about Nat Turner. I think about
Yes.
uh, uh, I, I, I think about Muammar Gaddafi because most people see Gaddafi because he's been painted in a narrative that Gaddafi wanted to unite Africa and make it
Mhm.
one nation or one continent. So there are Marcus Garvey, Pan Africanists who came here and was teaching, hey, just give us our own space and we will do our own thing. Give us Mississippi, South Carolina, that's the deal. Give us Mississippi, South Carolina, and Georgia, and y'all can have the rest, and just let us have our own land. That didn't work because it's as I've always concluded, it's got to be spiritual. It can't be natural. It cannot be that a community of individuals can endure what we have can do it as a community overall, and it not be some spiritual implications in what's going on.
Well, as above, so below. As
Heavens,
without.
heavens and earth, heaven and earth was created at the same time. Earth wasn't created second. Heaven wasn't. Heavens and earth. So it's impossible for a man to live on this earth without a connection to heaven.
And
And
I say that to highlight what you just said, which is like there's just no way that it's not a spiritual battle.
yeah,
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 because everything happens in the natural.
it definitely is not a natural thing because no natural thing should have this proportion of degradation.
You used to always say, I remember growing up, you used to say what happens in the natural has already taken place in the spiritual. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember that statement by itself, it captured me. And I've been unpacking that for so many years. The older I get, the more I find that to be true. You think
Mm-hmm.
about it, like you said, as a man thinks, so is he.
Mm-hmm. You
So
become a product of your thinking.
literally,
Mm-hmm.
you okay? You good?
Yeah, I'm good, baby. Go ahead. Go
Okay.
ahead. So just
Um,
mm-hmm.
So yeah, it makes perfect sense when you say there's no way that it's just a battle of just
Mm-mm.
flesh and blood.
Mm-mm.
It has to be a spiritual warfare, a spiritual battle. And I
And,
agree with that.
and given that atmosphere, a relationship that endures understands that
That's why I said, Daddy, it really takes two people understanding what they're up against,
very much so.
you
Very
know?
much so.
And it's not a, you people say things like, well, it's me and you against the world. And I used to think, well, why y'all gotta be like Bonnie and Clyde and like, but in terms of Um,
You create your own world.
there you go.
It's not you and him. It's not you and her or you and him against the world. It's that you create your own.
Yeah,
And your world, this is what exists in your world. Now we have to go out in the world, but we're not of that world.
there we go.
So we create our own world. Kind of like what we did, like what I did with you guys growing up. I never wanted you guys to be good people because I was a pastor, I was in ministry. I wanted you to be good people because we were in Christ.
You raised us to be good people.
And
Raised us to
yeah.
be integral.
So I think that in and of itself makes a difference. But I also understood what you were facing as young Black kids in the community and in the atmosphere we live in. And even more so now, the atmosphere in which we live in. And to try to make our familiar relationships, our uh, erogenous relationships, all of those, to make all of that work in the midst of all of the battles that we have, that we really don't have any control over the battle. We're just in the midst of it and we're fighting it, but we don't really control the narrative of the battle. And to bring that in and to synergize your relationship and to make one another, how do I put it? I had to make my wife my field and my harvest.
We talked about that. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's what relationship is. You
Yeah.
become the field and you're the harvest. And you know what? The harvest don't benefit the field. Did you hear what I just said?
I did, and I'm churning.
The harvest, the field yields the harvest. What's my point? My
Hmm.
point is everything that you yield don't always feel good.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
Everything planted in you that grows out of you is not necessarily going to be pleasant because it's not designed to feed you.
I see what you're, oh, I
I
like
don't have to be a forgiver for me or for her. I have to be a forgiver for me.
but that's something that grows out of me.
And it feeds her.
And wow. And the person that you are forgiving receives your forgiveness.
They're eating from your ground.
Yeah.
You're,
That's good.
when you are the harvest, you shouldn't be excited. You're only excited when you get the harvest.
I like being the harvest.
it
I do
depends.
because
It
that means
depends on in what context we say that. Okay,
it
let me
does.
clarify that. But again, I think in looking at relationships, and I've said this over and over again, you're always going to be sowing or reaping. I think in life we're always looking for the reap, not
Mm-hmm.
the seed.
Mm-hmm.
And the Lord told me this. He said, if you would take care of your seed, I'll take care of your reaping. Put
That
it in.
that
Well,
requires a lot of trust though, Papa. I'm sorry, let me let you finish.
go ahead, you finish. You're right.
Because I think it's human propensity until we get to a place of maturity where if we're giving and giving and giving and giving, we can't help but to go and see, okay, well, I'm gonna
Is it?
water it. Okay, is it growing yet? Is it,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
do I see any green sprouting out of the ground yet? Is it coming
Mm-hmm.
yet? It's not until you get to the point of maturity where you realize that you should be perpetually planting seeds everywhere you go in all kinds of different arenas of life, all kinds of different fields of life, on your job, going out and buying your groceries or uh, your relationships, your friendships, your family ships, your romantic relationships, all of it. And water it with your great disposition and water it with your encouragement and water it with positivity and then let the creator do what he do,
There you go. Bottom
you know.
line.
But
I've said this before. Growing up as a kid, uh, I used to work for a man that owned the property that my grandmother and I lived on. His name was Bud Davis. I told you about Mr. Bud Davis.
Bud Davis.
And I used to help him plant his wheat.
Hmm.
And one of the hardest part of planting wasn't the harvest, it was the planting.
Mm.
And
Laborious, right?
one thing about Mr. Davis, because he was a farmer, not a gardener, because he was a farmer, not a
I heard.
gardener,
Hmm.
he never had to watch his seed grow. He understood the timing of seed and the season of harvest.
That's excellent.
I think a lot of times we want to sow a seed and get a harvest tomorrow.
Yeah.
We don't have the patience, nor the endurance,
Yeah.
nor the know how. As you said before, one thing about Mr. Bud Davis, he didn't worry about manure because he planted his wheat in a cow field, and the cows that were already there provided the fertilizer. You understand what I'm saying? And it's amazing to me how we would get good wheat from funky fertilizer. And I learned this because you grow through your mess
Yes, you do.
and you don't even smell like what you've been through.
Uh, that's how it's supposed to turn out.
And then what makes it even more powerful, you grow through what you've been through. You don't smell like what you've been through. And nobody can tell you went through it.
Yeah. Yeah. Or
It's
look like a cake.
that's what good relationships look like.
Yeah.
When someone's been married 45 years, you
Yeah.
say, well, they look like they still, man, like your mom and I, we still have a viable relationship and all of that. And you said they still act like they, well, y'all get a room. You know how you guys sometimes, y'all get a room and stop acting like, So, but that's seed and harvest.
Mhm.
And you don't do it when you feel like it. Nobody sows when they feel like it. You sow in the season that's necessary. Mhm.
Mhm.
It's kind of like the guy that plants a seed and wakes up every day and expects to see the harvest. That's what I think we do in relationship.
Mhm.
I have in my past with your mom. I tell her something and I want to see the results the next day.
Come on, the
No watering. I don't want to
turn
go
around.
to bed. I just want to see the result. Didn't I tell you that yesterday? Didn't I tell you? How many times do I have to tell you? And our patience becomes worn because we don't understand the laws of reciprocity.
Oh,
And we blame our spouse for our impatience for the harvest. Well, he don't want to change. She don't want you. How do you know that?
mm,
So I think in relationship,
mm,
how do I put it? I don't know how to put it. Like I think in relationship, what grows in grows out.
yes.
What grows in grows out.
As within, so without.
And the
Yeah.
thing about a plant, the root is always deeper than the plant goes higher. The higher the tree,
The deeper
the
the root.
root goes deeper than the height of the tree. If the tree is 10 feet tall, then the root probably goes 15, 20 feet.
Yeah.
What are you saying what are you
It's
saying, Dad? The unseen things you have to do to make the seen things look good.
to make
What?
things beautiful, to make the seen things beneficial. Because if we're talking about a tree,
Right.
that root is vital to that tree. It absolutely is. But once the tree sprouts, it's beneficial to the environment as well. You know,
Shade.
I don't mean to, trail off into,
It's shade, it's fruit, it's
yeah,
all.
but it's a lot of,
Everybody,
right?
everybody eats from a good relationship.
Yes,
It be
that's my point.
family,
Yeah.
everybody. How many times have you been around a couple that looks happy together? How many times you've been around family that look like they're enjoying themselves? You be like, oh, everybody eats in relationship, but everybody got to understand that there's seed, time, and harvest in relationship. It
Yeah.
never changes. It's interesting that he says, while the earth remaineth, there will always be seed time and harvest, and we're made out of dirt.
Yeah. Yes.
So as long as we're around, as long as Adonai is around, there'll be seed time and harvest.
You
I
know,
think go ahead, sweetheart, go ahead.
no, go for it, Papa. It's okay.
I think what we have to recognize in every relationship, and I'm speaking in terms of friendship, any type of relationship, you got to know when there's seed time
Yeah.
because your friend is broken. She's going through a tough time. That is not the time for you to try to harvest something from her. You got to know when it's seed time and when it's harvest time in relationship. Relationships break because you keep expecting a harvest that you didn't sow seed. Don't tell me, don't tell me as a man you want this kind of woman, but you don't have no seed to get it. Don't tell me you want this kind of man, but you don't have no seed to grow it. So That's the hardest part. The hardest part is when there's no sign that the seed was sown, because the roots are establishing the height of the seed. That's why the Bible said we should be rooted and grounded in the word.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
It
it.
all comes together. It all comes
Yeah, it's
together.
relationship.
Yeah.
It really is. It's cyclical. Relationship is cyclical. It's funny. It's amusing. It's exhilarating. It's hard. It's difficult. It's humbling. It's rewarding. It's exhilarating. It's all of those things. It's a combination of every human experience you can have in life.
Yeah.
You'll never know how to love God until you love another human.
Mm. Great
Because
thing.
that's the closest thing we can get to knowing the love of God, is to know to love another human being. I don't understand this relationship with God that extracts the human experience.
I don't think it's possible.
Well, we try.
Mm.
We try. And I say we try because that's religion.
Hmm.
Religion says women are like this and men are like this, and all of these statements about how we should be based on a religious ideology or
It's just
whatever.
man-made. So I mean, I don't
Say it again.
if that's man-made.
Yes.
That's not a universal principle. Like when we talk about the law of reciprocity, which is something
Mm-hmm.
I definitely want to have a conversation about. That's a universal law. We can see
Mm-hmm.
it in the earth. We can see it literally. Everything has to abide by that law of the universe, the law of reciprocity, right? These ideas and women shouldn't do this, men shouldn't do this. If you're a man, then you'll do this. That are man-made. They're not universal laws. I mean,
No, no,
so
no.
how can we base a genuine, true relationship with our creator, a oneness with our creator, a oneness with God, whatever you call him, um, but base it upon man-made concepts?
Again, I think I go back to what I said. I hope I'm answering this right. I go back to what I said. I think we have to define terms within our own individual relationships.
Yep, it circles back to that, Daddy.
I think submission, submitting, headship, all of this information we've gotten about marriage is head knowledge,
Yeah.
not usable information within the structure of a relationship. Number one, because we are highly spiritual individuals, we have a high spiritual acumen. Our energy points toward heaven, our hair points toward heaven. Everything about us points toward a higher energy or a higher power as people of color. And so when we go into relationship, we base relationship on what we feel. We're very passionate. That's what makes us musical. That's what makes us hear notes and dance to notes nobody else can hear.
Yeah.
That's the rhythm. That's the rhythm of our existence or whatever. And because we go into relationships based on passion, love,
Mhm.
whereas other cultures,
Mhm.
it's strictly a business arrangement.
It's transactional.
It's very much so. Our relationship's not transactional, it's transitional.
Yes.
We go into a relationship hoping this gets better.
Yes. Hoping I make you better. You make me better. Hoping this relationship makes both of us better, makes the
Mm-hmm.
community better, makes the environment better.
Right.
Kids are better, all of that. Yeah.
And hopefully, within the structure of their relationship, they have someone that they can look at and say, they made it this far. That's my vision. When I married your mom, I had a vision.
Yeah.
I had a vision. I had people in my family that had been married 10 years, 20 years,
Yeah.
25 years, 35, 40, 40 years. Well, that was part of my vision.
Hmm.
Now, when longevity becomes a part of your vision, then recognizing your seed becomes inevitable. because you
Yeah.
go ahead, go ahead,
No, I
sweetheart.
was just gonna repeat because I'm chewing on it. Recognizing your seed, yes, becomes inevitable. Yeah.
Comes in when you said, like you were talking a few minutes ago, you were talking about the things that keep you going when you have no energy, when you lose the ability and your body is tired, your mind is tired, you're frustrated with your business opportunities and all the things that are going on in your life. What keeps you going? Vision.
Yeah.
Because we place far less, we don't place enough emphasis on the activity of vision that motivates the biological life as well as the psychological life as well as the spiritual life. Just having Leela makes you move
Yeah.
because you want something bigger for her.
Period.
Having you guys made me move.
Yeah.
Having your mom makes me move now. Having grandkids makes me. There's always something. When we talk about vision, we think about cars and houses and things. But the true understanding of vision is family and culture.
Mhm.
Because the Bible says, without a vision, people wander about aimlessly. They have no grounding place. They have no meeting place. They have no griot.
No,
They
great,
have griot.
Rio.
And a griot is someone that I've tried to become to my kids, and that's to rehearse the history of what I know about my family and where we came from.
Excellent. That's excellent.
Griots were necessary because we wasn't able to read and write, so we had griots who would record history and tell the history from one generation to the next year. Aunt Mary was a griot
Yeah.
because she would tell me the history of our family. My grandmother to exist, so said she's a griot. She was a griot, and the older I get, the more I move into that griot phase of my life. You
Yeah.
understand what I'm saying? So I don't know how I got into that, but anyway.
Well, we're talking about the focus, the seed, first of all, being aware of the seed and being more even more conscious of the seed that's required within a relationship as you
Right.
are growing in the relationship and as the relationship gains traction and grows in the number of years. But then even in that, then you start considering how necessary the vitality of that relationship is because
Yeah.
it affects the vitality of other relationships. It affects the vitality of the children that are produced from it in your community and the circles of friends that you may run in and just all of that, right? So it all ties in together. And I
Right.
think it's really beautiful that you're pinpointing all of these things because that ties back into where we originally started
Mm-hmm.
was really coming to a point and highlighting the need to come to a point where we stop chasing a model of relationship that was never designed for us.
Mm-hmm.
But
And
we, Mhm.
create the uniqueness. Every
There we
relationship
go.
that I know is successful don't have the same formulas.
There we go. There we go.
I think that when you listen to pastors and you listen to ministers and other ones that stand in front of us and we give respect to what they say, and I might say, my wife doesn't work, I take care of her.
Mhm.
And this is, that's not everybody's paradigm, nor is that everybody's ideal situation in marriage. Now, if you're a woman and you're sitting in the audience and you hear that, that may be something that makes you feel better, but it may not be your calling.
And I had to learn that.
It may not be something you can do effectively because
Yeah,
you are not a housewife.
I am not.
You
I remember
are,
us having that conversation. I'm like,
yeah.
yeah,
And
no,
to try to fit yourself into the mold, first of all, if you do that, your mind is going to wander off into all kind of other crazy stuff because that's not what you're designed to do. Whereas another girl, another woman would be perfect in that setting. She was designed for that. She enjoys that. She thrives in that. Her husband enjoys her being, but she's no less submissive. You're no less submissive by working. Again, it's just defining the terms. It's just understanding how to arrange everything in the proper order. How do we make this work? Okay, baby, I need you to babysit, husband, while I go to work, and then I'll get home at 2:30, and you get the babies, and we'll do.
yeah,
If you have this concept of what a woman is supposed to do, what a man is supposed to do, you lose the whole idea of what marriage is about in our community. Our community is about cooperation. It's about making effective use of all the resources we have, being good stewards of our resources and our relationships. And the most important thing, we work hard so we can create an environment so family time can be special. So that's been my understanding of what I have seen as a young man growing up when it comes to the culture of relationship, the culture of husband, wife, cousin, aunt, uncle, and all of that. It all stems from that and having a vision for something better than what you have. I can't stress that enough.
Yeah,
Vision to me is like the lifeline of how do I vitality.
I agree, Papa.
You lose the ability to dream bigger, to see better, to believe you can have better, to believe that relationship can be better. All of that. When you lose that, then you're like a guy who has a trip to Vegas, but you don't eat. You're not going to make it. You don't have the fuel for
You have the
it.
hotel reservation and
Yeah, you got it all set up. You done paid
you
for it
ain't
in
got no
advance,
gas.
but you ain't got no gas money either because you didn't prepare for the trip.
You ain't even got no gas
You
money.
ain't got no gas money. You
Lord.
just thought you could make it because the Lord told you to be married. God told you to get in this relationship. And there's a lot of stuff too. A lot of this religious stuff about God told me to get. First of all, let me just say this: God doesn't have time to pick your husband or your wife. Come on now. No, no. Now I do agree that if you're looking, there are some people that God will show you that appeals to what you're seeking.
Well, yeah, I think it has a lot to do with alignment. And I'm sorry, I'm chuckling because I just envision like, like a God calendar and it's just booked up. Ain't got no time.
I got,
Ain't gonna
I
play a
got,
matchmaker for
I
you.
got no time. I got a lot of stuff to do. I got a lot of these
A
people
lot of different people.
trying to kill my people. I got to deal with this. Let's
No,
take
but
this.
yeah, but I think it's a lot about alignment. I think it's a lot about finding the right fit, suitable for each other, right? So I'm a woman who I'm always going to work. I'm always going to have a job. I'm always going to make money. I'm always going to make big money. Always.
Mm-hmm.
I've been working since I was 17 years old and making a check. Like I plan on doing that for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
So if there have been men who have courted me who were not necessarily interested in a woman like me or in those terms.
Mm-hmm.
They're not suitable for me.
Right.
And it would not behoove me. It would not be in alignment with Elika to try and suit myself to that man
Right.
because he wants something different, right?
Right.
And so I do think by and large, it's about knowing yourself, knowing what you're bringing to the table, but also and knowing where you can fit, but also knowing what fits you and what's suitable for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's I don't think of it as matchmaking or like, yeah, God, orchestrated and ordained and picked this.
Mm-hmm. Right.
As much as I think that two people can be in absolute or complete alignment where literally it is sensible and makes perfect sense for the two of them to come together and
Mm-hmm.
start building a life together.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think that God can be centered in that. I
Yeah.
think that they can seek God together. I think that God will absolutely be involved in that situation, but I think it's less about matchmaking and more so about alignment.
That basically, I agree.
That's
I
my
agree. I agree. And I think in the world that we live in now, unfortunately, the world we live in now is mostly exterior stuff.
yeah.
We want her to be whatever, and we want him to be whatever. And I think true relationship starts from a true desire to build something special with one another. Uh, does it have to be rich? Not necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
But does it have to be us? Yes.
Yeah.
Whatever
Authentic.
it is, yeah, let it be authentic, let it be real. And that's one thing I can say about your mom and I,
Yes.
uh, having come out here to California when I was 20 years old, 19, 20, well, I think I was 20 years old when I came out here. And her and I coming out here when we were very young, her and I, Tara, coming out here when we was very young, uh, it allowed it, I don't know if I would say it allowed me, but it gave me a view that I'd never had before because I'd never been away from family. I'd
Mm,
always been surrounded by my dad's large side family.
yeah.
My mom's got a large side. So I bounced between families. So this is my first time away from family. And then coming out here, I'm having to envision creating the same atmosphere that I enjoyed back there. I wanted to create here because I didn't leave there because I didn't love the atmosphere I grew up in. I left there because I knew I had a greater assignment than being there.
Yeah.
And I wanted something different for my life and for my wife and kids. So coming out here and having to establish that, I said all of that to say it was vision.
Yes. You keep circling it back to vision, and it is absolutely necessary on both parts. I remember a wise woman, and I think you know who she is. Her name is Pastor Allison.
Oh yeah.
Many years ago, she said, well, doll, folks get married for a lot of different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Many years ago, and I couldn't quite understand why she was saying what she was saying. I understand now.
Yeah.
Um, but I think the greatest of all the different reasons why people get married, because people do partner up and get married for looks, they get married for clout, they get
Mm-hmm.
married for hypergamy, they get
Mm-hmm.
married because they don't want to work, they get
Mm-hmm.
married because they want to leech, what they get married for lust, they get
Yeah.
all kinds of reasons. I
Right.
think the greatest of all of those reasons is vision.
Vision.
I think the greatest of all those reasons is alignment.
And within the vision can be sex. In the vision, it can be all those other things can be
I
within
don't
the
know if you got it good vision if it don't include good loving.
so all of that can be within the vision, but it can't be the vision.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? I think that everything you said is a vital part of relationship.
Yeah.
The hurts, the pain, the purpose, the pleasure, the sex,
All of
the adventure, the mystery, all of that's a part of relationship. But it is not the relationship.
it
I
is.
wanted to build a great home for my kids, but my kids ain't the relationship.
Yes, Papa.
I wanted to build a great home with my wife, but my wife ain't the relationship.
You're not the relationship. It's y'all together and the vision that you
There
shared
is
together.
there is none if we're not together.
Come on now. Come on now. I it's tell me if I'm wrong. I feel like that is the perfect place to end this
I
conversation.
agree with you 100% because I'm home.
Oh, is mommy making you some?
Yeah, she got me covered. She's a
Oh,
good woman. I'm gonna keep her around at least another 40 years. I
I
think.
think that's a good idea, Dad. She's good.
Yeah, she
We
good.
love y'all so much. Thank you for
Thank
joining.
you guys. I appreciate you. Go
Yeah.
ahead. Bye-bye.
Joining into this conversation. It's been rich. It's been good. Yeah, this is another two-parter, but it's really cool. I like it. I think this is a really rich discussion. I'm sure that there's still remnants of this that will kind of pop up in further conversations, but we've enjoyed you immensely. It's been real. We love you so much. Hey, love, be loved, and let love. In the meantime and between time, take care of yourself and
And your neighbor. Your neighbor.
your
Love you guys. Love you, poo poo. Love you,
Mwah.
sweetness.
I love you so much, Daddy. I
Love
enjoyed
you too, darling. Guys, bye
you later.
bye. Bye
Bye.
bye.